Trey was 24 years old, Trey Joyner.
My son was murdered by career criminals on 8/8/2018. One got 3 years and one had 50 years.
When I look back over his life in this 16 years, it's the same story by the police or the park police. They are killing our young men.
I have to go to court tomorrow because he wants a reconsideration of his sentencing and he wants to move to another jail. This is not a place where you make a reservation. You're there because you murdered someone.
The same person murdering another person because they never were charged.
Yes. I've been an activist for 9 years. I'm going to continue to fight the case of William Chapman, who was also pictured up there. That officer who killed him in Portsmouth went to jail, but it was for 2.5 years.
Right.
What is that to a life? It seems as if they put a $1.2 million tag on the cost of a black life. We're worth so much more than that.
They whooped my ass till I had a seizure in Ohio, but I refused to bow down. They jumped on one of our guys and I stood in the middle.
When I speak of Trey Joyner, I was saying he was my star. He took good care of the mom, the sister, and the brother. That's the way he was.
We're in Washington, D.C. at the George Floyd Remembrance rally. It is October 14th. Why? Because that's George Floyd's birthday. Why are we here? Because George Floyd was brutally murdered, knelt on for 9 minutes until they killed him in the street. That system is here present and alive. That system is not just policing. That system is what our whole country is founded on, which is white supremacy. That intersection is why we see Trey Reed hanging from a tree. That intersection is why Breonna Taylor's name is one we also, that intersection is why Ahmaud Arbery was running and was chased down by white supremacists. We're here today not just to remember the story of somebody who was murdered, George Floyd. We're here to draw attention to the fact that that story has been multiplied thousands of times over our history. They created this narrative of white supremacy, this narrative that they show in media, in news, in film, in shows, in books, that black people are less than human so much so that they can then kill and brutalize black people in the street. But it's a narrative and a lie that they created. And that's a narrative that we will never participate in. Today, we heard the family of Breonna Taylor, the family of George Floyd, Fred Hampton Jr., the son of Fred Hampton. We heard the father of Jacob Blake. And it is not a coincidence that we're standing in front of the United States Capitol today. We're standing in front of the same Capitol on George Floyd Remembrance Day that passed a legislation to honor Charlie Kirk, a white nationalist, to honor somebody who called George Floyd a scumbag despite the fact that he was murdered by the police department. That same Capitol who every day does not seek your benefit, but seeks the benefit of the billionaire class.
My name is Breonna Joyner, and I'm Trey Joyner mom. He got killed in June the 8th on 2009.
Yeah.
He was killed by the U.S. Park Police, shot 9 times in the back. It happened here in Washington, D.C., in Northeast area, off Holbrook Street, Northeast. That's where he got killed at.
It's been 16 years, and I give my condolences. What has that looked like for you as a mother in the last 16 years?
Still seeing the same thing. Young men, Trey was 24 years old, Trey Joyner. And when I look back over his life in this 16 years, it's the same story. By the police or the park police. They are killing our young men, and a lot of the young men at different ages. But it seemed like in that year that he got killed, he was 24. A lot of 24-year-old young boys had been killed by different things and different types of police, which I would say the regular police and the U.S. Park Police. And I'm concerned about that because you say as a mother, you lose someone that you love because of them accusing him of having a gun, which he did not have a gun. Right. We went to court. They carried his case for 5.5 years. Nobody did anything. I'm his mom. His case went to Pennsylvania somewhere, and then they carried it from Washington, D.C. to that Pennsylvania back to here. When we went, after all this time, 5 years had passed, so we just waited all that time to get some answers. We never got no answer. The way we looked at it, why would you kill this young man, but y'all don't want to explain? And then these same people took the fifth. These officers, U.S. Park Police, they took the fifth.
Which is crazy. They shouldn't even be allowed to plead the fifth.
That's right.
Yeah.
If you was mad enough to shoot him 9 times in the back, and they tell y'all he only got shot twice, he got shot 9 times in the back. We never get to justice. We always gonna want justice, and I hope and pray that other families don't have to go through this, but if they do, I hope and pray they get justice. and not be lied to like this family, the Jordan family, have been lied to. When we went for 5.5 years, they come back and couldn't tell us anything and whatnot. And as a parent, my son, I love him, he loved me, and he was a good young man. This is what we go through as Black, living here in Washington, D.C. and all over the world, different countries, that a lot of our Black boys are getting killed. And it's hurtful because you're saying, who's going to carry the family if you ain't got no young men to stand up for these young girls, and mothers and fathers keep losing their son and daughter to gun violence. The only excuse they give us is we're not getting no justice. And I will keep saying, no justice, no peace.
Hearing your story, there's thousands, right? Thousands, tens of thousands of stories. And every single one is real and is painful. And there's family apart from that person, right? I think that's what people forget so often, is that it's not just one individual, it's every single person that person knew. What does justice look like for you?
Justice should look like when you do something wrong, like the U.S. police did, and didn't want to stand up to what they had did. As I just said before, if you can shoot a person in the back like that and don't want their family to get justice, because they can't get justice because they're dead. I just hope and pray that we get some real Black young men to stand up for the mothers, for the young boys that getting killed. I just hope our fathers and daddies, granddaddies, and just stand up. Although we know they got pain, the fathers got pain too. But these mothers, we got extra pain, because I had a son that tell me, Mom, I love you coming in the house. Mom, I love you going out of the house. And I know that when he passed, a lot of the senior citizens came up to me in that neighborhood. They explained to me, they said, you had a beautiful son. Said, we don't know why that happened and whatnot, but we knew that when we came home, grocery shop, my son was there to help them carry their groceries in, talk with them, socialize with them. So I know he was a good young man.
I think oftentimes when we think of police violence and police terrorism, we ignore the fact that these are real people. Like you mentioned, help the people on the block get the groceries. Could you tell me a story about him, your favorite story about him? Just I think people forget the humanity, right? You already smiling, like that's the beauty. That's the beauty of it, right?
He always liked spending time with friends and stuff. I taught them to be their best at everything they do. And he had a lot of nice friends, and he was a type of person that didn't knock nobody. When I speak of Trey Joyner, I was saying he's my star. Because he did what I know that I wanted him to do. And as a son, he took good care of the mom, the sister, and the brother. That's the way he was. And I know I raised them with everything I got to make sure they do right in life. And as a mother, I said, hey, it is what it is. I just hope and pray that we become winners, which we are winners in God's way, in God's light. Because when things like this happen, it happened for a reason. We know that. But it's a new season always coming that we hope and pray that things get better than what they are. And if we living in this time now, we as parents, mothers and fathers all over the world, we just want justice for our kids. Peace and love. Always gonna want justice for him, no matter what, and others. So just free our young men from whatever they try to hold them accountable all the time, because we all gonna make a mistake in life. We know that. One life, two lives, three life, every day. 24/7, we're getting this now. And it's gonna get worse in these 16 years, as you can see.
Say his name, Trey Joyner.
Trey Joyner.
Trey Joyner. If you would just please first introduce yourself to the people.
My name is Darlene Rainey Adair. My son was murdered by career criminals on 8/8/2018. One got 3 years and one have 50 years. I have to go to court tomorrow because he wants a reconsideration of his sentencing and he wants to move to another jail. This is not a place where you make a reservation. You're there because you murdered someone. And my son was getting ready to go to China and play basketball.
What has been your experience as the mother, as the family of What? Can you tell me his name one more time?
Lamont William Adair Jr.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I had to fight for justice. I had to fight. I was one that you wasn't going to tell me anything,
Come on.
and I was not going to allow you to do justice any way you wanted to.
Come on.
I was going to fight and make sure that his murderers did jail time. Second chances. Some of them might deserve second chances, and some of them don't, and some of them will never be rehabilitated.
We're here today on George Floyd Remembrance Day.
Yeah, George Floyd's birthday.
His birthday today.
Yes.
And it's the same day that the United States Congress wanted to honor a white nationalist.
Yeah, why? Because Trump doesn't care anything about blacks.
Come on.
And Charlie Kirk is a racist, and we
Come
all
on.
know that.
Come on.
And Charlie Kirk, he had millions. We know why he wants to make it a holiday, because he wants to bring in martial law. And we have to fight against everything that he's designing to line up against the black and brown people.
With the use of ICE and the National Guard, he's been targeting black and brown people especially, right? We see that in Chicago, Memphis, here in DC itself.
Yes.
We see that happening every single day. When we look at the system itself, and we look at the white supremacy that's embedded in that system.
The system is broken. It's been broken for years. It's been broken since
on.
our ancestors was kids. And we have to realize that everything is not about Trump now.
Come on.
Because
Come
God
on.
is in a higher power.
Come on.
God is going to say enough is enough, and I will hate to feel the wrath of God,
Yep.
because it's coming to the White House.
It's incredibly important to remember, and for all of us to remember every single day, that Trump is a symptom of the disease.
That's right.
Trump is able and enabled by the disease, which is
That's
white
right.
supremacy, right? And I think when we think about the country and we look at police violence, we think about the prison system. We're all thinking, where do you think
It's
a lot of
all
times
right
they
hand in
frame it
hand.
as
It
going
runs hand in hand.
Same thing with
And the thing of
Charlie
it
Kirk.
is, with the Republicans, you know right from wrong, and anybody that have the Republican for their mayor, their senator, you need to call and flood their phones, because at the end of the day, they wanted to take everything from the poor and from the needy and give to the greedy.
Come on.
And they need to stop doing that, because everybody has a soul and they're a person. Black and brown have a right to live, eat, sleep, and be comfortable too. Don't take all the millions he's given to foreign countries when we need it right here. That makes no sense,
Yep.
because he wants to take, and they promising him something.
Yep.
He's gonna get some kind of money in return.
Yep.
And Trump needs to pay for everything that he's doing that's wrong. He's making money off the White House. And whose house is the White House but our 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue belong to the people.
people's house.
And he decorating all this gold. How much you paying for this gold?
Right.
You're taking everything and spending money on unnecessary stuff. He needs to wake up. Be blessed, trust God, lean not to your own understanding, and don't worry about this shutdown. They needed to shut it down so you could see who the blame falls on.
I won't stop repeating the fact that the United States has sent Israel $40 billion in the last 2 years. Just passed a resolution to honor Charlie Kirk. Still never passed the George Floyd Policing Act. And still invest $0 in black communities in the way they need to. It's not about change for the people in there, because they're not trying to change our lives. They're not trying to ensure that poverty doesn't exist. They're not trying to ensure that you have food on the table. But they're trying to ensure that their corporate interest has the things that they already have, which is billions of dollars. So ask yourself, if the United States that earns trillions of dollars per year and has sent Israel $40 billion in the last 2 years, ask yourself, why can they not spend $20 billion to end homelessness in the United States? Ask yourself, why can they not spend $40 billion to end starvation in the United States? Ask yourself why they did not spend $75 billion to ensure that you, me, and every single other person in the United States can go to university for free and receive a stipend despite their economic background. Ask yourself, why not? And you'll quickly find that the answer to that question is because they do not want to, and because that the billionaires that support them don't want to either. Quickly, if you would just, introduce yourself for the people real quick.
My name is Jafari Jones, president of BLM 757, also known as Black Lives Matter 757.
So tell me about Rolin Hill. Tell the world about Rolin Hill.
Rolin Hill was unfortunately beat to death while shackled by his hands and by his feet by the Virginia Beach Sheriff's Department and the Virginia Beach City Jail, I believe on June the 4th of 2024. For a very long time, it was put out to the media that Rolin passed away from a medical emergency.
Right.
It wasn't until months later that it came out with the death report that he indeed had been beaten severely. And then we actually witnessed the actual video at the officers once they were finally indicted later that January. This not being circulated, but he was handcuffed by his hands, by his feet. He was in a restraint wrap, and this is all during a mental health episode. He was repeatedly punched in the head. He had a knee placed on his neck and on his torso. He called for water and was denied, and he passed away from his injuries. He was able to donate some of his organs to other people that were able to live, but his family is fighting for justice right now. There's court in January, February, and March with these 3 sheriff's deputies. There actually should be more people charged, but we're trying to make sure that the world knows about Rolin Hill and the many injustices that are going on in the city of Virginia Beach.
When we talk about, seeing justice for Rolin Hill, of course that includes punishment and consequences for the officers as well. What does justice look like to you with that included and beyond that as well?
Well, with this, Virginia Beach has many different cases of injustices. This is one of the very many. India Kager, who's also a member of the Coalition of Conservative Mothers, her mother, she was killed by the Virginia Beach SWAT team, and Virginia Beach has been seemingly untouchable. So justice to me, I don't speak for the family, I'm Representative BLM 757, but justice to me would be the entire Virginia Beach Police Department and judicial system being investigated and brought down. They were also responsible for the murder of, like I said, India Kager, the false imprisonment of Matthew Rushing and Champ Turner, Donovan Lynch, who was Pharrell's cousin. That officer didn't even have to see a day in court, and that officer likely killed DeShayla Harris as well, VH1 reality star. But case after case after case comes out of Virginia Beach, and these officers never see a day in jail, and often they're back on the force.
Yeah. That's one of the biggest I feel like that's one of the worst things I've seen perpetually, right? Yeah. The same person murdering another person because they never were charged. Yeah. We've talked so much before about, not me and you, but generally, right, about how the policing system needs to be defunded, how there is drastic things that need to happen. It was driven from slave patrols. Can you just talk a little bit about the system itself and how white supremacy is embedded within that system?
It's deeply embedded, and we're in the 757 part of Virginia, where at Fort Monroe in 1619, the first documented Africans were brought to America. And so that entire land is, I feel like, still embodied with that. Right. There are a lot of people that are complacent what's going on, which is why a lot of people may not have heard about many of the cases that we fight, because so many people there aren't carrying it like they carried it in Kentucky. They aren't carrying it how they carried it in LA. They're not carrying it how they carry it in New York, not even in DC. And so I've been an activist for 9 years. I'm going to continue to fight the case of William Chapman, who was also pictured up there. That officer who killed him in Portsmouth went to jail, but it was for 2.5 years. Right. What is that to a life? Right. And it seems as if they put a $1.2 million tag on the cost of a black life. We're worth so much more than that. Right. And I feel like people are too comfortable. When people see cops arrested, they automatically feel like that's justice, and it's not. Right. Until they're seeing the same amount of time as if I took your life, I wouldn't have the leisure of sitting at home on administrative leave while getting paid, while still reaping the benefits, while dragging the case on and then receiving a slap on the wrist, not put in general population. It just won't work like that. They need to be hooked and booked, just like if they did somebody else, we need to end qualified immunity. And we need both sides of the aisle fighting this, because a lot of people want to side one particular party. I'm independent because I see all of them being complacent with what's going on. Exactly. They were just like they were complacent with the genocide in Palestine, and while being complacent with not pushing the George Floyd Policing Act like they're pushing a lot of other issues that they pushed. Not to say that those issues aren't important, but we see the energy that they put into those other issues when they really want them pushed to the front.
I was just saying that the same people who were kneeling with dashikis on in the U.S. Capitol are the same people who passed to honor the life of Charlie Kirk. Yes. And to me, that is one of the very many, many indictments of both the Democratic and Republican Party. Like you said, they both maintain genocide. They're functioning in the same moment, in the same lane. They just might be on the left and the right.
Correct. Yeah. So like I said, I pushed for the end of the duopoly. You know, I wrote it for Brother Cornel West, but neither parties have us in mind. And I honestly feel like there's no party when it comes to our lives. There shouldn't be a political party. Right. And like I said, the Americans are forced to suffer. They're still getting their paychecks despite the shutdown, and that should change. The issues when they really want them pushed to the front.
I was just saying that the same people who were kneeling with dashikis on in the U.S. Capitol are the same people who passed to honor the life of Charlie Kirk. Yes. And to me, that is one of the very many, many indictments of both the Democratic and Republican Party. Like you said, they both maintain genocide. They're functioning in the same moment, in the same lane. They just might be on the left and the right.
Correct. Yeah. So like I said, I pushed for the end of the duopoly. You know, I wrote it for Brother Cornel West, but neither parties have us in mind. And I honestly feel like there's no party when it comes to our lives. There shouldn't be a political party. Right. And like I said, the Americans are forced to suffer. They're still getting their paychecks despite the shutdown, and that should change.
What is the coincidence that the same people who passed the bill to honor Charlie Kirk are the same people who never passed the bill to honor George Floyd, to pass reform to our policing system? What is the coincidence that the same people who voted to honor Charlie Kirk are the same people who knelt for George Floyd in the Capitol, despite not doing anything tangible for the black community, nor the benefit of the black body who suffers every single day at the hands of the police through the terrorism of the police? It is not a coincidence that that same government, the one who is apathetic to black and brown communities, is now deporting black and brown people. That same ICE terrorizing black and brown communities is the same police department who was seeking after slave patrols 100 years ago. That is the same police department who murders people in the street. One of the phrases I thought was incredibly powerful, you said, we're in profane times, and profane times calls for profane language, profane measures.
Correct.
Talk to me about that. How does, the world, how do we act profanely? How do we stand and fight harder than we had before? What is needed for, education or the community?
Well, see, what we have to do is subtract the fear.
Come on.
See, a lot of people have fear. They want to tell you they ready for this.
Yeah.
But then when I remember we were in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, in Wauwatosa, standing with one of the families of was killed by an officer that had killed 2 people. And they called out the tanks. Mm-hmm. I'm facing a tank with the cannon at my forehead. And at that particular time, I said, well, if they pull this trigger, I'm gone. Mm-hmm. But I could not move from in front of that cannon or I would have became a sucker. Yeah. And I refused to bow down. Yeah. So it takes that type of commitment that we refuse to bow down in the face of, they whooped my ass, man, till I had a seizure, bro, in Ohio. Yeah. But I refused to bow down. Yeah. They jumped on one of our guys and I stood in the middle.
You talked about your son, he was shot 7 times. We're here in remembrance of George Floyd today on his birthday. There's this intersection, right? This forever system that we keep seeing happen over and over again. For people who couldn't hear your speech as a father, what did that change for you, or what did that look like for you? And how does that keep you moving today?
Well, like I said in my speech, my father fought for civil rights in the 60s. Yep. So in 1965, he was beat up and had dogs unleashed on him. Again, we go back to no fear, brother. They didn't fear him and John, little John that passed away, there was a congressman. In the face of their own death, they never walked away from their steadfast belief that we are fucking human beings. We're a part of humanity, bruh. We're not animals. You understand me? We are we bleed, we breathe, we defecate, we urinate, we cry, we eat, we wash ourselves to be clean. We're human beings. But in the face of what they were up against, they never backed down. The fear cannot be you. When I come out here, right? Every time I come into public, there's a chance that I might not make it home. Right. That somebody might take a pot shot and kill me. Yep. I still come. I don't care if it's 100, if it's 10. I've spoken in front of 100,000. I don't give a fuck if it's 2 people. I'm coming. Yep. Right? Yep. Because I don't fear a goddamn thing. And if we allow fear to control our minds, then we won't do shit. You can know what you can do, and if you're fearful of it, then you're not gonna do it. I played football my whole life, man, 14 years, man. I remember state playoffs in 1984. We played Naperville Central High School. The motherfucking running back was 263 pounds. And the motherfuckers on the team was like, man, that's a big man. He's big. I play linebacker. He's big bumper. And I said, man, he put his drawers on like I put my drawers on. Right. I'm getting ready to drop the hammer on him. Every time he touched the ball, I hammered his ass. Yeah. After the game, he said, man, you wasn't scared of shit out there. Yeah. I said, man, I don't believe in fear. It's not just talking about it. It's being about it.
Yes.
A lot of motherfuckers have good talk. But then when you facing a cannon, and I had to make up my mind at that particular time, I had a family and it was all women and girls. And I said, man, I can't let them die. So we'll retreat right now, but I'm not retreating because of fear.
Yeah.
I'm retreating because I don't want anything to happen to these ladies that are with me. You understand? So now that goes to the part of the speech when I told you I thought I was a protector. The females, we got to protect them, bro. We have to. It's our duty, man. You know, it's our duty not to be no punks.
For sure.
I'm just saying. Either you're about it or you're not.
Yeah.
And we body about it.
Come on. As somebody as, experienced as yourself, can you help the people watching, understand the direct line of white supremacy that draws itself through policing? I think what people often forget is that the systems of white supremacy that have been killing black people this whole time are still right here with us.
Well, okay. History lesson. You go back and you look at the Ku Klux Klan originated in Indiana.
Right.
Indiana's in the north. So just saying that right there, Indiana's in the north.
Says a thing.
It was nationwide. It wasn't just in the South.
Yep.
You understand? And it was a system. When these crackers came over here, they knew what they were gonna do. Niggas was here before the crackers got here. Them Olmec heads with them fat ass noses, that's our history, man.
Yep.
That's not Central America.
Yep.
It was all connected. They walked up and down. From South America to Canada was niggas, man. Now, you can believe what you want to believe. I ain't never seen a real red person.
Yep.
They're brown.
Come on.
They're brown. They're brown,
Yep.
man. Pavlov explained the theory of conditioning, right? So you can condition somebody to believe anything. We've been conditioned to believe that we're what they say we are, instead of understanding that's a fucking lie.
Fucking lie. It's a narrative they created.
It's a narrative. You said it yourself.
Yeah.
It's a story that they created.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with our reality.
Come on.
Nothing to do with our reality.
Yeah. What was the importance of hosting this rally when we see both Democrats and Republicans passing to honor Charlie Kirk, but they won't pass to, change policing?
Yeah, that's kind of, I got this platform, I'm blessed to be able to have a large voice on social media. I'm blessed to have people that pay attention to what I say. But, the same people that's listening to me are ignoring black voices. So it's important to me to uplift black voices. And as soon as I heard that, Charlie Kirk Remembrance Day, what the fuck?
Right.
We still haven't passed the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. So my immediate thought was, no, we're gonna have a George Floyd Remembrance rally. And you were here, I'm having these families out here, highly impactful, hearing their stories. I mean, one mother's son was killed 32 years ago, still telling his story, still out looking for justice. The police still doing the same bullshit.
Yep.
Had, Chairman Dr. Fred Hampton Jr. here, his father was killed while he was still in the womb.
Come on.
And so, this is nothing new to this country, but what we've got to do is uplift these voices and actually fucking listen. If America was listening to black and brown voices 60 years ago, we wouldn't have Donald Trump in the White House today.
Come on. I think that's the same message, the same thing. When we saw 5 years ago during the Black Lives Matter movement, we see Democratic politicians kneeling down, yet not able to pass any type of political or type of legislation that will better the lives of black people, whether that's community efforts, whether that's investment into community, or whether that's the changing of the police system. Regardless, we see people performatively act, yet in tangible ways, they're not acting at all.
I've traveled this country with, some of these families, and I've been to neighborhoods where they have these groups of mothers. They've lost their son. Here in D.C., the Coalition of Concerned Mothers, this is a sorority they say nobody wants to be in because they lost your loved one to police terrorism. But I'm going to tell you what I don't see. I don't see those groups in white neighborhoods.
Come on.
I don't see white mothers with groups because they've all lost their son. I don't see this sorority forming in suburbs and white neighborhoods because it's not happening to a white community. And if it was happening to the white community at the rate it was happening to the black community, the Justice and Policing Act would have passed 40 fucking years ago.
Come on. Say that again. Come on. Appreciate you. It's never just the person who's murdered by the police. It's never just the person who's murdered by white supremacy. It's the person their friends, their family, their cousins, their community, their neighbors. All of those people are affected. I think about my own self. When I was in high school, and another schoolmate, a person that was in my brother's grade, was murdered by police. RIP, say his name, Christian Taylor. I remember being 14 years old and internalizing the fact that somebody I went to high school was murdered by police because he was on drugs. Not being aggressive towards them, not doing anything towards them. That was multiple steps for me. But it drastically changed how I viewed the world, how I saw the police. That trickle effect of trauma, of racism, it attacks us all, it touches us all. And today at George Floyd Remembrance rally, that's what we have to remember. It's not George Floyd, it's his family. His daughter said to Fred Hampton Jr. George Floyd's daughter said to Fred Hampton Jr., the son of Fred Hampton, who was murdered at 21, laying in bed with his pregnant wife. She told him, the same system that killed my father killed your father. And that's where we are today in DC, looking at the very system who killed both.
No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace! And I mean that shit!